That's for 1 minute.
Good morning, friends. This is Sonja. Thank you so much for welcoming me and us into this space of collaboration. We bring greetings from the planetary management team to you and appreciation, as always, for your dedication and commitment to this space and the co-creative process. We will keep our comments brief this morning because this one is struggling with her voice, and we do not wish to strain that too much. We are quite excited for the new members here, so it is good to have both Stephan and Sunny as part of this team. We appreciate you taking the time out of your day to join in this co-creative process with us and with the existing team members. Please feel free to contribute fully to this group and to this process. We are excited to see the talents that you bring here and how you want to use these gifts in the collaboration that we are doing and what we would like to move forward and continue to do. Please do not hesitate to ask any questions or make suggestions. This team was prepared for your presence, so we welcome you here to this space. Now, for this morning and in some places afternoon, we just want to bring your attention to the events in the world and on the planet, only to say to you, do not be dismayed and do not look too heavily upon what you see as an indication that we are not working towards a greater peace for humanity. We are very much involved in all levels of the activities on the planet and are aware of the devastation and devastating circumstances occurring in various pockets. What you do not always get to see is the work that we are doing that is positive in how we are connecting with people who are very dedicated to connecting with us as well. There are quite a number of groups dedicated to working with the Holy Spirit as they know our Mother Spirit, also dedicated to working for the greater good of humanity. We would ask that you turn your attention to those groups and try to find the news and information on these groups that are elevating humanity to this next evolutionary phase. And this will bring you hope and encouragement. And even Juan, in your community in Venezuela, you could look a little deeper and find like minded people that have the best interest of you and your people on their hearts and minds. Connect clearly with those folks that are thinking these things and connecting with us. Perhaps there is a community or church group even that is dedicated to doing this. You will find strength and encouragement in these groups of people to support the work that you are doing. Additionally, you will want to connect with them with the work that you will do in the future in this design team, whether it is creating your family learning centers or doing design team work with new governmental institutions, new educational institutions, or any other institution that needs a new framework for how to think and how to operate in a new planetary system. You are the leaders in this in your communities. Do not underestimate the value that you provide with this connection to spirit in these groups. Please make yourself known to them. See who is doing what, where you are, and how you can contribute to the upliftment of humanity at this time. We want to know that we give you our greatest blessing on the work that you're doing, and we look anticipatorily on everything that you do because we know that your heart is pure and kind and dedicated to this work. Thank you so much for receiving me today. I am ready to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Sonja. Thank you, Gwenna. Well, who was a question from Sonja? From what he said or something else? Stephan? You're muted.
I don't have a question, but I feel honored to be in this group. I've been following the transcripts for a couple of decades, and it seems like I feel some kind of a calling at this point to fill in wherever I can. I know that Mark Leventa has asked us to get the message out, and I feel that I can add something to the mix that can actually make that happen. As far as what's going on around the world right now, I think a lot of us were expecting this, and so it's not a surprise. And I don't personally feel overwhelmed by it, although I certainly feel compassion for the people who are going through it right now. And I appreciate you mentioning it. That's all I have to say about it.
Thank you, Stephan, for your comments, and we are quite pleased that you are here. You have spent many decades preparing in your life for this period of time. We acknowledge that and appreciate that you have maintained a dedicated presence with us, whether it is in this space or in the many other spaces that you have occupied. There will be plenty of work for you to do. Have no doubt you are in the right place at the right time, and we are very grateful.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Sunny, do you want to add something from your part? Because you are in the far from us, but still it's a small planet. So New Zealand, Tonga Island, you are all our friend there.
Thank you. I don't have anything to add or ask at this time.
So I will add you. Will ask a question to Sonja. We spoke some time ago about preparing the Family Learning Center and in parallel the 98 item of the syllabus. I was reading something about the divine laws which are taught, I suppose, in the morontial realm, like, the law of equality, the law of balance, the law of love, and many laws. Is this something that we need also to contemplate in our study for the Family Learning Center to write all those laws from what we will found through the web, through the teaching mission, and everywhere? That's my question.
Thank you so much for that question. In fact, the universal laws are extremely important for you to have an understanding of. And the more that you contemplate these, the more your work will be able to be profoundly impacted. It would be good for you to continue doing that, and even your stellar friend that you have mentioned previously in context can help you have a greater idea of how those universal laws, in fact, are used on other planetary systems. This would be a good conversation to have with them so that you can see how those universal laws are intended to operate on this planet. It will be a very intricate aspect of your family learning center because the people on this planet do not have a value system that is considered universal. This one is working on studying and establishing those value systems within her studies and within the design team process for the benefit of communities and societies that she will encounter. This is part of your learning process, and you should take very seriously a look at your value systems to make sure that they are, in fact, in alignment with the universal value systems on other planets and, in fact, what we use to operate with each other in the celestial realm. If you have an understanding of what these value systems are, your transition to morontial realm and then into your spirit ascension career will be much, much easier for you because you will have already processed the very important basics in your system that are operational outside of this planet as well as should be operating inside of this planet and will eventually become the standard practice for humanity. It is very difficult for humanity to even comprehend these universal values at this point in time because they are still so entrenched in an old rebellious mindset. But yes, thank you for that question. Please do take time to evaluate those things for yourself and for the benefit of this group and your communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonja. Welcome, Mart.
Apologies for coming in the middle of
No.
Sonja's message. Thank you.
Sonja, because you spoke about our stellar friends, maybe it's a curiosity question from today, but still, from where you stand, do you see an opportunity for us to get a message for those friends?
The friends have reached out to you already, and it is like connecting with your thought adjuster. If you ask your thought adjuster to then connect you to your stellar friends, you in fact can have an encircuited conversation. It is quite simple from our perspective. However, you have your belief systems that you have to manage and quiet in your mind in order to do this effectively. But practice will help improve this opportunity. As with anything, just check with spirit to affirm that the connection that you have made is with an appropriate entity, and you will be fully encircuited. You are always protected. So do not be too concerned about this, but be aware, and your spirit will witness to the truth for you. Martha, no concerns. We are happy that you are here and could join us as soon as possible.
Thank you.
Any further conversation or questions?
I have a question. Thank you, Sonja. And thanks for your presence here today. I've just come out of a meeting after there was a shooting of 18 people in a series of villages in South Africa where there's enormous hopelessness, enormous poverty, inequality, unemployment. And I just wondered if you have any thoughts about how to, we've listened to the people from the community, to women, and we will in the next few weeks work on this, but I just wondered from a spiritual perspective how to address such utter hopelessness and violence that has gone on for so many generations. Thank you very much.
Thank you for this question, and I will try to address your concerns with compassion for you because you do not see the things that we see from this side. For these people that have lost their earthly lives, be assured that they are embraced on this side with tremendous love and reverence for the sanctity of their very lives. And in many ways, their transition to the morontial realm and this time of preparation for an ascension career where they will have the opportunity to choose is quite a blessing and a relief in comparison to where they have been. So, though that very many people live in a very hopeless state of being once they transition outside of this earthly plane, there is a lot to be hopeful for on the other side. Try not to despair too much, but perhaps you can share the message of hope in that there is life beyond what we witness with you here on this planet. Encourage others to look at a life beyond the devastation that they see and experience in their daily lives, even though that may be difficult for them. Most people, of course, want to experience a very happy, joyous life on the planet, which is unreasonable for many people considering the terrible circumstances that so many people on your planet face. This is the greatest challenge, to find hope in a world that is filled with so much despair. Your message of hope is simply that this is not the way that Spirit wishes for them to live, and that they will be comforted when they transition, regardless of their circumstances or who they may have been to others on this planet. It may be incomprehensible to you, but even those that cause great harm on the planet are received with a loving embrace once they transition to us. We do not lose hope in the opportunity for those who were mortal to ascend properly once they leave this rebellious space. Thank you for that question. I hope that I have helped you somewhat with your discomfort.
That is a beautiful answer. Thank you so much, Sonja. Absolutely.
Thank you also for your care and concern for your fellow mortals on this planet. We appreciate your big heart and your dedication to bringing equality to so many who may never in this lifetime experience this. It's unfortunate, but it is not permanent from our perspective. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you have no other questions, I will give you some closing thoughts. Again, we appreciate your cooperation in this space, this co-creative process. You are learning exponentially on how to proceed, and we are very grateful for that. We encourage you in all of your connections and networking and reaching out to your immediate community. This will have tremendous benefit to you and this process in the long run. Remember that even though not everyone understands the work that you are doing or your comprehension of the universe, you can be a light in dark places. We have called you specifically to be this light in your community, and you have answered that call. As your Master Jesus said, Christ Michael on the earth, you cannot put your light underneath a basket. It will burn the basket. It wants to escape or it will be snuffed out. So do not be afraid to let your light shine in the community, no matter how dark it seems to be around you. And especially Juan, you have a tremendous light inside of you. We are with you always. Thank you for your time today. Good day.
Thank you so much, Sonja. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonja.
Thank you, friends. One second.
Buenos días, Marta.
Buenos dias, Señor Juan, and hi, Stephan, Sunny, Jacques.
Martha.
Hi, Martha.
Sunny must be very asleep still. Am I right? Sunny, is it 3 o'clock in the morning where you are?
The time now is 5:25. Yeah, in the morning.
Está madrugando.
Thank you. We're lovely.
Before you join, Mart, we had a small session with Kona. We try to understand how Zoom is working.
Yeah.
And it seemed that the connection when you have an account, it's quite difficult to share the account to make it in cost. It's surely possible, but we don't know how it works.
Yeah.
So I think
But
right now Jock is going to get with Zoom and see why his translation is not working. In the meantime, I have set up our meetings for the next year to be relatively automatic unless we switch those out. And I'm happy to take on sending out the invitations. Juan is recording today. I think when Juan, you recorded last time, it landed in the cloud and I was able to send out the recording and the AI transcript. So just for Stephan and Sunny, real quick, what we discovered is the AI transcript is really terrible. It was driving Daniel nuts. And so we don't automatically send out the AI transcript. We'll send you a copy of the recording if you want to save it. It's only good for about 3 weeks. We are saving those recordings, and Juan graciously puts them in a YouTube channel so that we have it for perpetuity. And then we review the transcript. It gets edited before it gets sent out. And then we have our AI summary that we have also been reviewing before we send that out. So that's just kind of a quick update. And Martha, sorry I didn't answer the phone when you were calling.
no, of course
I,
I
But it
totally
triggered me to
understood.
let you
Thanks.
in. It
No,
triggered me to
thanks
let you
so
in.
much. Yeah.
Sure. Go ahead, Stephan.
What are you using to translate it?
Let's see, we take the translation and then Jock and Juan, you guys do the transcript. So what do you
I'm
what do
sorry,
you
I
use?
actually meant the transcripts. What are you using to make the transcripts?
Just the Zoom, we take the Zoom transcript and go through the Zoom transcript and make
Uh,
sure,
Gotcha.
especially because of the language, when we have, the English and the Spanish, we have to make sure that whatever is said by an individual gets properly translated, especially because our Zoom wasn't working. Go ahead.
I made a discovery over the last week or so. And as we all know, our text, when I talk to my text messages, it's terrible. Voice to text is awful. And obviously Zoom is the same. It's awful. However, I discovered that when I go over to the ChatGPT app on my phone and I press the phone and I speak into it, and it doesn't even matter how much background noise there is, it's flawless.
Wow.
Now, the other day I had to, I wanted to transcribe some YouTube videos that didn't have a transcript. And they were, actually, that's not true. They were Twitter. They were Twitter videos that didn't have a transcript. And they were all relatively short. They were like a paragraph each. So I held my phone up, I pushed the headphone button and just let it hear it. And it perfectly put it out. And then I just copied and pasted it into the document that I was working on. It's flawless. It's
The
amazing.
Chat GPT.
The Chat
Can we
GPT
can we
voice
get the Chat GPT into Zoom? How does that work, or do you know?
Actually, you can. Now, here's what I haven't tested. I haven't tested how long you can go. So
Okay.
I don't believe it's reasonable to think that it can go for an entire hour. The way that it works is that you push the headphone icon and it just sits there and listens. And then when it's done, you push the screen, it stops, it creates the text, and it's supposed to push the arrow and then it answers that question, but I'm not using it for that. I just use it to capture the text. And then I hard press on it, copy the entire thing, and I cut. So I cut it out of there and then I paste it over into where I need it to be. And it's flawless. It works so well. So here's a couple of takeaways. One of them is that you can use it for that, especially for short conversations, and it will record off the computer. The other takeaway is that OpenAI, the company that makes ChatGPT, has figured out text to voice perfectly. So at some point down the road, not too far, we're going to be able to actually expect that to happen in other apps as well.
That's great. Is that helpful, Juan and Jock, for you for the transcript, to the possibility of using like take the transcript and download it into Chat GPT and say, clean this up? Is that
Here's how I
possible?
would suggest using it, okay? Because I'm a trial and error, think out of the box kind of guy. So what I would do is I would play the transcript. I'd push the button, play the transcript, and let it go for like say 30 seconds, and then push the button and see if it gets that. And if it does, okay, now I'll check it for 60 seconds, and then I'll check it for a minute and a half, and then 2 minutes, and 5 minutes, and whatever until I find out what the limit is. And then you would be able to do it that way, piece by piece. But that's a lot of work, but it might be less work than actually going through the transcript and trying to clean it up. So it's an
Okay.
option.
Because
And also, I'm forward thinking. I always see technology as what it's going to be, and I start planning for that eventuality. It's kind of like there's an old story about Wayne Gretzky, and they asked him why he was so great. He said, I never skated to where the puck was. I always skated to where it was going to be. Same thing. I'm always looking at technology, where it's going to be, and then making that plan. And so this is what's coming up.
Very smart. Jacques, you had a question?
No, I say because what we do, Stephen, is we get the transcript on words, which is not so bad. But there are a lot of spaces and so on. But Juan do a sort of post-processing to reduce this. But after, we need to check the audio message to be sure that each word is correct, because Daniel wants from the celestial message the purity of the text.
I agree with you.
So
I
we
think
have to compare. Anyway, we have to compare. But Juan, could you explain the post-processing you do with the uh, Word document from the transcript?
Buenos días. Bueno, yo tomo la transcripción, el archivo de Zoom y por los momentos lo estoy llevando a la aplicación Notebook, KLM. Eso me permite colocar el archivo completamente, en su totalidad, sin fraccionarlo. Y de ahí le doy una instrucción para que lo limpie, le quite las interjecciones, mejore la redacción y cualquier error de lenguaje. Es muy rápido. La última transcripción que hice, la hice de esa manera y se la envié en menos de una hora. Yo esa transcripción no la reviso, solamente la hago el draft, el borrador, y se lo envío a Jack o a Marta o a Cona para que ellos escuchen la transcripción, vean el video y de acuerdo a lo que ya está filtrado, vayan corrigiendo cualquier mala palabra, mala oración, cualquier error que tenga. Y de ahí ya darle formato y emitir la transcripción ya que se va a difundir. Eso es todo lo que yo hago.
Right. So we were instructed a couple of weeks ago from Sonja that ironing out these processes is extremely important for us right now, so that we have a very smooth process by which to operate as a design team. So that's why we're spending the time with this and figuring out Zoom and all of that, so that it becomes, it's an easy flow, rather than, because Martha has spent, 9-10 hours going through a transcript. I would listen to a recording and it would take me 9 or 10 hours to transcribe it. We take the transcription even, and then for Jock or Juan to clean it up before AI, it's another 9 hours combined. So we're trying to reduce the amount of time that we spend, because Daniel has indicated many times, and the Celestials have indicated, that this work that we're doing needs to be documented for posterity. And that's why the recordings are important to go on the YouTube, and the transcripts in paper form are really important, because we're setting ourselves up to train the next generation and the next group of people that will do this design team process. Martha.
Thank you. I wanted to ask two questions. The first is, because we have two new people, are they willing to have those videos be put on YouTube? So maybe that's just the first
With your
question.
presence, yes, perfect.
Yes. Will you both approve, or if you don't want to, what do we do then? Because we haven't really thought about that before, I see. So I see there's a big smile from Stephan. Should we wait
It's
for
a good
his
question.
answer
I
to
hadn't
that?
thought about that.
Yeah.
And it would be really awkward to say no.
Juan, maybe I should just ask Juan, en este momento hay video y audio en YouTube o solamente audio?
Está el video junto con su audio. Pero
Okay, so
el
it's
audio
video and audio on YouTube.
El audio lo puedes poner aparte también como un podcast.
So there's a way with a video to you know, to gray out, fuzzy out somebody who does not want to be pictured. It would be awkward. I mean, you can always go off screen if you choose, if you don't want to, but you know, thank you for asking that, Martha, because the rest of us have agreed to it, but it's up to you guys how you want that to be done. And we'll do the editing that needs to be done for this particular one.
I'm fine with it. I really hadn't thought of it though. Just for curiosity, I recorded that using ChatGPT to see to what degree it would be accurate. And I haven't thoroughly checked it, but I let it record for a whole minute. And it looks like it's all there. So anyway,
That's good.
it's an option, something to play with.
Sunny, are you
And then
okay
you
being
can-
on screen?
Yes, I have no issue with it. Yeah, I'm fine
Okay.
with it.
All right, perfect. All right, go ahead, Stephan.
I was just going to say that's just an option. And then you can just select all and cut, and you don't have to send it over to ChatGPT. You can copy it over to where you're putting it. I'm the king of workarounds. It's always been, you know, whatever there's out there, what else can you use it for, kind of a thing.
Mhm.
So that's what I've been doing with this. The cool thing is that somebody has figured out how to do voice to text about 99%.
Mhm.
And so when that happens with one company, other companies very quickly follow because it's copycat
Mhm.
world.
Have you used the Notebook LM?
Yeah.
Are you familiar? That's Juan, correct me if I'm wrong. That's Google's new AI. It's a notebook in a notebook form. Do you want to share your
Okay.
screen, Juan?
Notebook es una app de Google,
It's not
gratuita.
Google. Okay.
Tú
Oh, good. It's not. Okay.
puedes subir 50 fuentes, 50 libros o 50 documentos. Y sobre eso, él hace un resumen de todo. Se saca sugerencias de preguntas. Hay preguntas ya sugeridas. También pueden decirle que te formule más preguntas acerca del texto. Entonces, cada consulta que haces, hace una nota que puedes grabarla junto con las citas. Siempre las citas van numeradas. Y si tú le das a la cita, inmediatamente te lleva al párrafo donde ella sacó ese resumen. Para mí es una aplicación muy interesante porque yo ahorita en este momento estoy subiendo 50 documentos, transcripciones del grupo NOCO. Y eso me da un sinfín de posibilidades de extraer información. Y sobre eso yo puedo hacer un libro o hacer cualquier cosa. O yo por lo menos tomo una de esas notas, lo pego en invideo.ai y hago un video en inglés o en español, como yo lo desee, el cual puedo modificar. Y ustedes verán ahí en el canal de YouTube de Ulancha Outreach Mission, verás que hay muchos videos de ese tipo. Ella hace el script y hace el video. Y puedes modificar cuando tú desees, como tú lo desees. Como es gratuito, lleva las manchas de agua. No se las puedo quitar. Pero como la idea es llevar el mensaje, de alguna forma, eso es lo que yo hago. Ya cuando tenga para pagar la suscripción de un mes, 2 meses, ya lo haré mucho más profesional. Pero por los momentos, eso es lo que
May
Hang
I
on one
just
second.
Ah,
Go
thank you.
ahead, Martha.
I just wanted to say, no, it's not translating as well as it should. So he was saying in the beginning that you can upload 50 books, but it said $50. And then he was saying that he is using those books that are summarized by Notebook, he is making scripts for videos, and he asks NVIDIA to make the videos, but it has watermarks because he has a free account. So if we were to pay for the account, we would be able to make videos without having watermarks on the videos. Thanks.
Thank you, Martha.
Gracias, Marta.
How much does it cost for an account?
NVIDIA or the notebook?
Either one.
What is the cost for the subscription, Juan?
Notebook, aunque es de pago, la mayor parte es gratuita y puedes trabajar tranquilamente con Notebook. No hay problema. InVideo cuesta $25 mensuales si pagas mensualmente. Y cuesta
$25, yeah.
Y cuesta $20 si lo pagas anualmente. O sea, de un solo pago. Pero
What is the company that provides? Oh, I'm sorry. What company provides Notebook?
InVideo Notebook. Notebook is Google.
Oh, Notebook is Google. Okay.
Okay.
Y InVideo es .ai. Yo, por lo menos, yo creo que es una buena inversión hacerlo con InVideo, porque tenemos unos videos de muy alta calidad y solamente así de esta forma gratuita. Imagínate cuando es una versión de pago, todas las utilidades que pueda tener adicionales.
I think you said NVIDIA is the company that provides the video. Is that correct, Martha?
Yes, he said in video.
IN.
Yeah.
It's IN.
NVIDIA.
NVIDIA is their
I know.
software and hardware, yeah.
Yeah. They're the leading AI chip making company. Whenever you're getting something for free, you're the product. You're not the consumer. And when Google gives you something, I'm an expert on Google. I've been analyzing Google since the beginning, the day one when they launched. And they used to be a really good company at the very beginning. And then they sold out to the stockholders, and they're not a good company. And basically everything you put on Google belongs to Google. That's why it's free. So be aware, take that with a grain of salt. I generally don't use their products for that reason. And, everybody to each his own. But I wouldn't use Notebook if it's Google or Notes or anything else, personally.
Juan?
Bueno, yo utilizo Notebook, es como una herramienta para extraer información, no para almacenar.
It just depends on what you put on there and how much you know about what the data collection does. And that's a whole nother lesson. It's a book. But the companies have gotten very, very good at getting you to think that you're getting something for free. But if they know everything about you, they know how you vote. They know your orientation. They know everything. And not because you've told them, it's because they know what other things you do, and the algorithm correlates that with other people and their behaviors and so on and so forth. So basically, they know you better than you do. And sometimes that's okay, and other times it's really, really dangerous and not good. Especially when it comes to if you're in a politically oppressed country, and somebody wants to know, anyone can, governments buy their data.
This is the problem in Russia. This is the problem in Russia. That's why nobody can do anything in Russia.
Governments buy their data. The US government buys it, the Venezuelan government will buy it. They sell it to anyone who wants the information. So, for what it's worth.
So, yeah, that's like you said, that's a whole nother conversation, and we can,
A
if we
whole
want to
other
talk further about that. Before we get
But
too
I
far,
only say it to make people understand that there are some of us who will not use Facebook, for instance. Okay, someone will say, why aren't you on Facebook? And I go, oh my God, how much time do you have? And so forth. So same thing. I won't use Google products. How much time do you have?
Before we get too far along, I wanted to get back to our agenda, because we're 48 minutes into our day today. We had our message from our celestial. We wanted to do a review of the AI summaries to see what we have missed and what we need to attend to so that we have our agenda clear. We have been in the process of reviewing Macaventa's message from 913. And Jock, you asked me about that before. And we started reviewing that in place of Martha doing it on her own so that we were making corrections as we went. And that seems to be a faster process. Because it kills two birds with one stone, essentially. We're going through the message at the same time we're making corrections to the transcript. You're on mute, sweetheart.
Now my question is, do you want me and Juan to continue the process? Because if we reduce a little bit the transcript before you do the revision online, it will help a lot. We can save
Whatever
some
you guys are
space.
doing,
Yeah?
I do not want to interfere with your process.
Okay.
Whatever you
Okay.
are doing that works for you,
Yeah.
I do not want to interfere. That's what I wanted to make clear with the change in the Zoom account is I do not want to interfere with your process. You guys had that going long before I got here.
Okay.
And if it's working, let's not break it.
Yes, Juan, you agree? We can continue what we do before. And knowing that in the future, software will help us a lot. But now we can do it the same way. Yeah.
Ok, como para entender, vamos a proseguir el proceso de antiguo, que yo extraigo, limpio la transcripción, hago un borrador, te la envío, tú la escuchas junto con el video y la vas corrigiendo para dar la versión final. ¿Es
Yes.
correcto?
Yes, especially for the celestial messages, which are very important. The rest we can keep it, but yeah.
Yeah, we want to make sure that the celestial message is good. Martha, you had a question?
Thank you. Yes, I had two. I think you would have noticed that I have very little time. So for me, it's really difficult to do this in my own time later. I just have so many things. So I would prefer if Jacques and I can at the same time on Zoom go through the audio and check if Jacques is still going to do it so that he and I can do it at the same time. Because it'll be much more effective for me to also be listening to the audio. So that's one thing. I don't know how useful it is for all of us, all six of us, to go through all the transcripts together on this platform. So that's the one thing. And the second one is that because we are now 6 people, I thought it would be useful to the 2 who weren't here before the time to just hear some of the background of how we got to where we are. Because we started out with Daniel kind of being the consultant for a design team. And then Daniel left us, and then things changed a lot. David was here, David left. David wanted us to become like a business and put everything very clearly. So I think for those of you who have just joined, it would be useful to just hear what the process has been that got us to where we are. And just hear your input. I don't know, Kona, how would you like us to manage that? To just share with
Sure. I
them
mean,
what we've done.
is Stephan and Sunny, do you feel like that's useful information to you, or are you comfortable with where we are right now?
That would be
You're muted, Stephan.
yeah.
Go ahead, Sunny.
Yeah, for me that would be very useful
Information.
just to have that
Perfect.
backstory.
I'm not the one. I'm a newcomer this year. So Martha, if you'd like to go ahead.
Okay, so just to say that we started firstly this whole group, Friday's group, with 3 people. It was David, Juan, and myself, and we got together because we spoke Spanish, and they had not been participating as much in the English-speaking group. Then we invited Daniel, and Daniel was very excited, started joining us as a consultant. Jacques joined us. Kona then joined as an observer. And after a while, Daniel left again and said that he wanted us to continue by ourselves. So David, who's a businessman and wanted to see us, suggested that we get together and write a plan with dates and deliverables. And we haven't really gotten there. Then we went through a whole series, and Juan, please stop me and create things. We used Daniel's design team document that he had set up, where you use the 7 values to measure every decision. We looked at what the health system had to look like 500 years from now. And what was interesting is that we realized almost all the health issues had to do with personal decisions. If you were to design a health system for 500 years from now, almost everything came back to how people take care of their own health. We then looked at family learning centers, because that was a big priority for all of us, how we would set up a family learning center. At some stage, we were reminded by the Celestials that they had given us 2 years worth of teachings. And we then looked at the 98 qualities of soul that they say we've been taught over those 2 years by the Celestials. And we did lots of, Juan and Jacques did lots of research on what those 98 qualities were. We all gave our own list of 20 things like patience, kindness, compassion. And then we were again pulled back and said, but those aren't really the priorities we should be looking at. So we did lots of false starts. We got to ideas of having our own wiki where all the information we were getting would be stored. And so now we're very slowly going through the celestial messages. We're trying to get our process right, because it hasn't been that efficient. You know, previously people did 1 meeting every 2 weeks, and then somebody would have time to transcribe it and make it perfect. But we were asked to do 3 meetings a week, and you can't really do 3 meetings a week and have transcripts and AI. So we're really still struggling with technology, saying if Celestials want us to meet 3 times a week for 2 hours at a time, how will we do it? What exactly should we be doing? And are we setting up a system to teach? Because the last thing we did is look at the different steps in the design team. So we'll share those documents. We have a document where we worked on the different steps. We then added an extra column to say what it would look like if we were teaching young children. And we're still looking at the design team facilitation portion. How do you facilitate? So that is where we are when all of this happened, when you came in. So I don't know, maybe Kona and the rest, if you'd like to add to that.
I think you gave us quite a good summary of what we did. But just prior this setup of this Friday team, most of us, at least myself, Juan, Marta, we were on another team with Daniel called PMG team, Planetary Manager team, which starting long ago in the transcript of the teaching mission. It's an old story. We're starting basically in 2014, and we have listened transcript over transcript. So on my memory and one memory and other memory, we have all this transcript there, and we know where to search for a subject like patience, child rearing. So it's all there in those databases. most of the items have been said by the Celestial over the 30 years. Now our job is to gather this data on one format and publish them some days.
Right. So that's a good background too, because I knew that you guys had been meeting for a much longer period of time. This Friday design team, has it been about a year? How long has this Friday team been meeting?
September last year, yeah. September,
so
October last year.
and I came in, I don't remember, maybe December, January, as an observer. And so there's also been a couple of other people. B comes in on Friday. There's been a couple other people that were participating on Friday, but for whatever reason, they stepped away as well. But we're assured by the celestials that, you know, those who come for whatever their purpose is. And just because they leave doesn't mean that we're spiritually disconnected. We all have a role wherever that we are. We retain that spiritual connection, you know, for now and for future, whatever that looks like. So what we had been doing as well is really nailing down this design team process. And I think I've told both of you, I'm in getting my doctor of ministry through the Pacific School of Religion, and my focus is on the design team process. So, you know, the Celestials kind of like said, you need to get your application in. This is our project, not yours. And you're running out of time. And so I did, and I got approved immediately to become the part of the PSR community. And my first class was in design thinking for social change with Neil Goldberg. He's been instrumental in helping us. So Daniel has a very, very celestially guided spiritual aspect to design team. And design thinking in the world about how we create our world is a whole nother ology, let's say. It's a way of thinking in the world. And what Neil Goldberg is doing is he is dedicated to helping people understand that design consciousness starts here, that we are creative beings with the capacity to design our world very specifically, but we have to do it consciously so that we have sustainable and now regenerative cultures. So that's the focus of my doctoral program. So David and I were bringing a blend in of the design thinking from the very, you know, practical world mixed with Daniel's design thinking from the celestial world. And we're learning the tools and learning the process of design team formation and process and praxis. And the focus that we were given by the Celestials was to concentrate on the role of the facilitator. And that's what we wanted to review today. We've gathered lots of information from lots of sources on what it looks like to be a highly functioning, effective facilitator in a design team as the pivot role. And then from there, we're going to move on to the other roles. But we're being set up to, one, ourselves be facilitators, and two, to train other facilitators in design teams. That's going to be our role. It's like Jesus and his disciples. He trained them, then he sent them out. So we're in the training phase of what it means to help people understand the creative capacity that they have in a co-creative process with celestials, and or the community co-creative or design team process where everybody's voice becomes important, really important in indigenous cultures who've been silenced for so many years, that, you know, that they need to understand there's wisdom in those indigenous communities that was overlooked for so long in the recent history, that the Celestials are like, you need to go back to the communities. There's wisdom in these cultures, and learn from them what their best practices are, for instance, in child rearing. And that's the research piece. And the research piece, you know, on Daniel's side, we're told to go talk to the community. And on the practical side, research and talking to the community is part of the design process. It's so they're married together. And I'm taking a class now on research methodologies so that I can help us develop some of these practical processes of going into the community and asking the right questions. And the big deal for both the celestials and in the practical is asking the right questions. If you ask the right questions, you get the answers that you need to kind of motivate people and help you with this whole process. So that's also some background on, we all bring our skills. That's my skill. My skill is that I'm in graduate school with this design team process and praxis that I'm helping to bring to our team. So,
Yeah. Just my friend,
sure.
it's 7 p.m. for me. I will leave you. Sorry for that, but I will listen. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much for being
Bye-bye.
with us. And we're going to review and you'll see the rest of the
Yeah.
recording. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much. So Martha, do you have the charts, right? Because we started at noon. So today is 2 hours from noon. And noon Eastern Standard Time. I'm 1 p.m. now, so we're an hour in. And so we wanted to look at the charts that Martha created and just see where we are, because we have talked about so many things that we need to do in this process that we're losing them because we don't go back and review. It's part of our lagging process. We don't go back and review all the things that we said we've talked about. Martha, you're muted, hon.
Still muted. I
There
just
you are.
wanted to know, when you said, what do we need to look at now? The document I said?
You sent us, you created
That
documents
document.
with the
Yeah.
AI summaries. Do you have access to the
Okay,
share screen?
let me just, yep, I'm just going to show. Here we go. This document because I want to suggest that so that we don't waste time. This is the document you mentioned.
So you put it in, but you haven't filled it in yet.
No, I haven't, because it needs Jacques and Juan and I to, so really the three of us have to come together and do this. So I think let's take it out of
I
here
see.
and
I
we will
see.
check that we have all of those. I think that's the one thing I can do.
So what I can do is pull up some of our AI from the last several meetings. I suggest that we start backwards and that way we can fill it in. Does that work for you? Because we need to look at, or did you want to do something else with the other part of the agenda? Sorry, I'm trying to be as coherent as possible, even though I don't feel well. You're muted, Martha. I don't know how you keep getting muted. Sorry.
I was just saying that it would maybe make sense that Juan and I, Juan, ¿tú has podido llenar algo en esta página o no?
Hasta el momento no, porque
No.
no he
So I
tenido
would just
mucho
suggest
tiempo.
that it needs us to sit down. So I would suggest that we have another meeting outside to just fill in that, because that one is really a very slow process of going through all the documents and looking at them.
Sure. Okay. So then the next thing that we were going to look at is to finish reviewing Macaventa's message from 9/13.
Yeah.
Or did you want to finish doing that? And then
Yeah,
last week's message from Macaventa, it spurred on another almost hour and a half worth of discussion. So on Fridays, what we had been doing is after Macaventa gives us a message, we take time to review the message. And that particular message, we talked for the rest of our time together. And then I had to leave. I don't know if you guys stayed even longer than I did, after I left. Because we want to not just hear a message and then go, okay, great. But really, what is that message? What is that message really telling us? And how is it sitting with us? And how are we receiving it? So we may not need to review old messages like this since we're taking the time to do that in the moment. But we had not done that to some of these previous messages. That's why we're finishing that up. And then after we finish that, we're going to look at the roles of the facilitator. And then that would be helpful for you to see some of the things that we've pulled out of the archives and other material for the role of a facilitator. Martha, you're on mute again. Martha, you're still on mute.
Do you have the edited version of the 13th?
I think I do. 1 second. I may not. You had it. You had it because we were editing it as we read it. I think you were
Yeah.
sharing your screen and editing it. I'll look on my
You say it's the 13th?
right.
Okay, here's the 13th. Okay.
You have it. I have the
Okay, here.
20th.
No, I've
Okay.
got it. I'll take.
Okay, perfect. Okay. And Bob is joining us.
Okay. So can I just quickly, I'm just going to show the rest of you. So we haven't shared any of these with you. So I'm just going to go to the top so we can just quickly, so there's a prayer at the beginning. Then there's Makiventa. Talking about the fact that this group now represents several continents, thanks to you, Seni.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you we thank you for your presence. And then it talks about, it's quite another to have the exact words, just reminding us that we shouldn't use artificial intelligence only, and that we should look at making sure that these transcripts are as well edited as the last 30 years were. And so just say it's important to have a plan for this new civilization. So we have to help the planet survive, and that the spiritual realm is here with us to assist in this evolution of the family structure, social institutions, and the sciences. And we want to bring a positive development of your civilization on this planet, and saying how difficult it is on our planet. And because we're an exception, because we're a decimal planet, and the great challenges it takes to live on a planet such as ours. So he says they were using us to learn the shortcuts, the fact that they work covertly in the minds of people. They want to create societies that provide a safe place for families to exist. Child rearing is not an easy subject on a difficult planet. I love that line. And so that is why this focus on the family learning centers. It is not easy to learn a new ethic. We will teach you. You have the materials now to learn this new ethic. It's necessary to diminish the negative influences of your planet, all those things, childhood abuse, post-traumatic stress, etc. Reflect on the international scene, the fact that we live in a very hostile society, and that they want us to understand ethical understandings.
Oh, before you move on, Avila
Yeah.
is A-V-A-H.
A-V-A-H, okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Because we had a question about that, so, okay.
Okay, like that. And then L, yeah, perfect. And so they wanted us to read the book Making Sense of Ethics. And that is what Juan was saying, that Google Notebook allows you to put 50 books in and summarize them all in no time. So again, we hope Seni is joining our group. You're living in New Zealand. So did Stephan, you both mentioned here. You'll have more and more individuals showing up. They are being called, they have something to offer. So great difficulties for people to establish communities in difficult nations and regimes like Venezuela. We know you must then do not subversively, but you must do that under the cover of secrecy so that you're not punished. Our message is one of peace, of equality. And so, okay, so that was the end of Makiventa's message. So these are the questions. Should we just start reading and then ask and then stop? Kona, how do you want us to proceed?
Sure. Did we, so we
we
didn't
finished
go,
the Celestine
we didn't,
part.
right, we didn't go through the questions on the previous transcript. We just
No,
went
so
through
it's not,
the message. The one thing that I'm reminded of, and I can't remember if it's this transcript or another, and I sent an email to Daniel. He wanted us, remember, we had the message from Avila, and Avila gave us information about the mystic circles and the Merkaba. And Daniel had told us that Avila would want to have another session with us. And what I inquired of Daniel, and we looked for that information, we never found the document that he was talking about. And Daniel did not, I don't know whether he doesn't remember what Avila said, because Daniel he's in the moment of translating or he's in the middle of the transmission. He didn't send me what I was looking for, and we haven't found the Melchizedek workshop information. I don't think. I can show you what he sent me, but I cannot remember if that was this transcript or a different one. Do you remember? Can we look at that transcript? Is this the one where he talked about that, or is that a different one?
I think it's a previous one. Do you want to show us what? I'll quickly have a look if I can see it at the end, but do you want to show us in the meantime what he sent you?
Sure.
Is there anybody else who has access to that Merkaba information?
Jock sent me a few things. I can just show you the file that I have. Let me pull the file up and pull up the documents. I don't know. I just don't know exactly what we're supposed to be looking for. And this has to do with that. Give me 1 second.
While we're waiting, do we have this transcript available to all of us?
So we finished it now, and it hasn't been sent out yet, but it will be, Bob. We just
Okay,
wanted to
thank
make
you.
sure that we go through the editing process before we send it out.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. All right, I'm going to share my screen and we'll just look at each of these documents one by one. But was it, so Martha, could you look back at that transcript and see if it was a reference in this particular transcript, 913?
It wasn't, I checked it.
Okay, so was it the one before, do you think? Do you guys remember? It's not last week. It's not the 20th, so it has to be August.
I'll go back and look while you show us what you were sent.
Okay. All right. So this is one of the first one, building energy anchors and Merkabas. And he talked a little bit about this. But I don't know, this is just one. I don't know if it's this one. Here's another one. This is just all about the Merkaba. I don't know if this is the Melchizedek information or not. That's another one. I'm going to go through each of these. See, this has the facilitator in it. There's illustrations. This might be the Mystic Circle information.
Oh, well, sorry, I'll definitely have to switch off the sound. Well,
Have any of you seen this information, stuff like this before, or used Merkaba? Stephan, you're muted in case you wanted to say something.
Tell me again what you're looking for.
He called it the Melchizedek manual on Mystic Circles.
Okay.
Here's Mystic Circles. And we were supposed to read this and get familiar with it before Avila came back to us.
Okay, I just went to the teaching mission T and asked it, can you find me information on mystic circles? And it's putting out quite a bit of stuff. As referenced in the context of the teaching mission, play a significant role in the spiritual development learning process. These circles are often small groups of individuals who gather to deepen their connection with spiritual teachings, foster personal growth, collectively align with divine guidance, and so on. It keeps going. And then it's got several points. 4 points under purpose of mystic circles, the role of the transmitter, examples in practice, and further explanation. I could try pasting this into the chat if you think it's useful.
Either pasting it into the chat or just send it to a response all, or send it to me. You know, whatever's the best method for you to do that. It's just, I know that was part of our instructions. And
would you like,
pardon?
Kona, I can signal it to you.
Yeah, and that would be helpful, because I didn't make your master class, and I haven't been through the whole process on how to use your website yet.
Oh, here,
You sent it to me
give
and
you a link to that.
okay.
Kona,
Yeah.
could I
Here,
just,
let me do this
Yeah, if you put the
to this
link in the
GPT,
chat.
first of all. I will.
Okay, Martha, you had a question?
yeah, thank you. I just want to understand, how are we going to prioritize how we're going to work? You know, where the Merkaba Mystic Circle comes in, where the facilitation thing comes in, where the steps of the design team comes in. How do we put everything in a, as David would say, in a timeline, and say we will do this, then this, and this, so
Well,
that it's
that's
clear.
right. That's why the review of the AI summaries was a priority today, to review those AI summaries, because we have things like this that are on our timetable, and
Yeah.
we won't know how to prioritize until we actually know what's on the list, because we're behind. We've talked about so many things. The Celestials have given us things to do. Daniel given us things to do. You know, we are grappling with a lot of stuff for no other way to say it really is. We've got a lot of stuff on our plate. And that's why I wanted to review the AI summaries today and go through that so that we had a better idea of what we're supposed to be working on. I'm going to copy and paste those. I mean, part of what we do is we do get a celestial message, and what we're learning how to do is to take this session as a work session to actually get a few things done at the same time. Because like, the idea of you and Juan getting together sounds really remarkable, but you have so little time, Martha. I don't know when you're actually going to be able to do that.
Yeah.
That's the challenge. And, we really have got to get on top of this before we get any further behind. So this is kind of a work session in addition to, and I'm going to copy those links now. I use OneNote.
I just put the first link is the teaching mission GPT. You can go there, ask it a question, and it will give you some of the information that you're looking for. It sounds like. Okay. And then the second link is a direct link to the question I asked that provided the answer that I sent you over Signal.
Okay.
And then you can look at that. So any of you can actually click those links and tool.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so that's one of the items on our agenda. Because I saw Avila's name, I was like, I cannot forget to ask you guys about this.
How do you spell?
Stefan, if you're speaking, you're frozen, I think.
Regard.
There you are. Okay.
Oh. Okay, can you spell Avila for me again?
Sure, I'll put it in chat, but it's AVAH LAH.
LAH, okay.
Not to be confused with the Archangel, a similar name. Daniel gave us, I ran across that email where he spelled the two differently for us, Azala. They both have an H.
Excuse me.
Okay, so Bob, you had a question? I'm sorry. Or somebody had a question. Somebody said so. Was that you, Stefan? Sunny and Bob are muted.
I just asked it if it could find, and this is the teaching mission GPT. It's mining the Daniel, the Northern Daniel website for information. And I just asked it if we could find the statements from Avila and the teaching mission. And it gave me an explanation of who Avila was. And then told me, I can go to Norton to find more. But if you start asking it specific questions about, for instance, the first one I asked about was mystic circles, and then it gave me information on that. You can start drilling down into the specifics, and you can actually ask it where it found it, what transcript, things like that. So it might be useful for finding these things rather than poking around looking.
Perfect. Let's spend a little bit of time for this agenda to look at the facilitator material. We had talked about using the same document, Martha, that you were editing, and we were going to start adding the facilitator material. Do we want to add that to the document and then review it at our next meeting? Is that the better use of our time?
Maybe I should just show you talking about the document,
the steps of the design team process.
Yes, maybe we should. I think it's worthwhile showing it. And I've just had an interesting insight. And the insight is that part of our, sorry, let me just get the document up again. The insight was that one of the team roles is exactly for somebody to take note of all the ahas and all the processes as they happen. And of course, that's what we're missing now, because that we don't have that.
We don't have a recorder at the moment.
Yeah, so
right. It's been challenging because Jock was supposed to facilitate because Martha's coming straight from work, but he was gone on vacation last week. I'm not supposed to facilitate on days that I bring a celestial message. It becomes very complicated. It becomes very complicated under the circumstances. So we're doing multiple roles simultaneously, but the one that we haven't had is consistently is our recorder. And that's one of the reasons why our agenda is kind of off. And Jock was gone 2 weeks, about a month ago. He was gone for 2 weeks. And so we miss him greatly because he facilitates and creates the agenda, and Martha was doing some recording, but we're all behind in everything. So sorry for the confusion here.
And we also have to check the time, whether the times suit the two new members.
Right.
So this was one of the units of work we were working on, which were the different steps of the design team. And when Kona's Professor Goldberg came in, we started putting in the middle here the praxis, the 5 steps for co-creative design. So the steps we had identified were organizer, defines the team objectives, selects the team members and strategic recruitment, identifying necessary skills, bonding, formation of trust that's needed in a team before you can continue, to foster a collaborative work environment. That also includes the tools like Miro and other tools that we realized we needed. Define roles and responsibilities. And that's what I just mentioned, is that there's
That's where we are.
Implement effective work processes for a learning community. Encourage systems thinking. Use appropriate tools. Just want to go back that issue of people who speak other languages to make sure that they are included. Determine the value system. Support professional development. 11, establishing facilitating leadership. So that's the whole facilitation part. And then measure and evaluate performance. So those were the 12 steps. I'm just going to quickly go to the top and show what were the steps of praxis. The steps for co-creative design that Professor Goldberg mentioned were empathetic inquiry, define how we might do this, which will identify the skills needed, and then ideate how might we address the challenge. So people come up with lots of ideas, then you create a prototype, then you test the prototype, and I guess then it goes back in a loop and you do the same things again. And we were talking about the different tools like PowerPoint, Canva, Google Slides, and Miro. Is Miro a Google tool?
It's not.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, so it would be probably helpful if Stephan and Sunny had a copy of this. Could you just send it to the whole group? At the updated version that you have, so we all have a copy of this updated version. Yeah, this is an extremely important document. So because we've talked a lot about AI, Juan and Jock and B used AI with the transcripts of the teaching mission and Daniel's work and brought a lot of this. So we first brainstormed this on our own. And then they used AI to help pull this from existing documents to help us narrow down what you see in front of you. So it's been quite a process in helping us, wrap our heads around, one, what Daniel has written, and two, what we can do practically. There was a bit of a disconnect in what was happening in the design team process, just trying to use Daniel's. When we got to the schematic became very confusing. And we stumbled a lot on the schematic, and it seemed that you can add to this, Martha Herwan, But it seemed like the stumbling on the schematic is one, the schematic is complicated, and it involved a lot of personal analyses of one's own biases and value systems, which is not built into the process, which Daniel was trying to teach everyone. And so we kind of had to back up and look at the whole process from, what's missing. And that's how, with David also, we came up with this. David's assignment to us was, come up with a design team process so that we can turn it into a very simple document that could be uploaded from the internet for young people, for, the Gen Zennials that might need to know a better way of governing other than what's in the world right now. So that's how we got to here. But it's, this is our training document as well that's helping us and help so that we can help others. Any questions about this in particular?
Yeah. I don't know if this fits or not. Excuse me. I don't know if this fits or not, but when it comes to governing other people, you have people at all different levels. Democracy, for instance, and it says so in the Urantia book, depends on an educated citizenship. And without an educated citizenship, democracy can actually do more damage than good. So when we try to create a document for people governing in the future or at any time, we have to take into consideration who they're governing.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know that you can come up with anything that's going to be a one size fits all.
Right. That's why it's a process right now.
If you look
And
at
that's also why the design team process is extremely unique in that it's a process and not a method. In other words, it has the ability to take into consideration every community, because you're literally working in the community with the people who are there. And it's not going in to say, this is the way you do things. That's the very first thing, empathic inquiry. What in the community is of concern? Active engagement with the community about what they desire help with.
Yes.
So
yes.
you go into that space, you integrate with them, you work with them. Right out of the bat. And those of us who are facilitating are not the leaders of whatever organization we're stepping in. That's been very clear. Is we facilitate, we are not the founders. And Daniel is, and we talked about this a lot last time. We're ethically, we cannot be the founders of whatever that organization that is. It creates a problem. And that's what the world has faced before, is people going in and saying,
absolutely. I mean, you're completely spot on. It has to be from the people up, and it has to fit what fits them. And I mean, look what we did in the Middle East. We went over there to give them democracy, right? How did that work out?
What a disaster. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's the funny thing that's going on in the United States right now. Say, make America great again. You can't have a great country without great people, and the focus needs to be on the people themselves, and it has to be tailor-made to their capacity. Again, a pint will never hold a quart. So we need to work with it from that perspective. And I think too often it isn't. It's worked from up, down, and it'll never work.
Yeah, that's why this process is so important, is because it literally creates a learning environment where those who are called to leadership can learn with each other and with the community about what needs to work where they are.
And one other thing I might add is that motivation it goes hand in hand with capacity. And there are too many people who are not motivated to take responsibility for their own situations. They want to be led. And when that's the case, it's probably better to find a good, strong, hopefully benevolent leader in order to fill that until people raise up to become at a greater level. So, there's so many different components to take into account. And I 100% agree with you. That you have to go into the community, you have to measure their capacity, you have to measure their motivation, their desire, and so forth, before you help them or guide them toward whatever government is appropriate. And we have to be okay sometimes when a strong, benevolent leader is the solution. Isn't the one we like, isn't the one we've been trained for, but sometimes it fits best because the people don't have the capacity, they don't have the motivation, or they don't have the education, and so on and so forth. And we have to be, we have to be okay with that. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's also why the focus on the Family Learning Center has been,
Yes.
the other main focus is, to help families raise, and be educated, but two, educate the next generation on how to
Yes.
be socially interactive in a way that is regenerative to their culture.
It is a generational thing. And again, we have to have people with fit minds and bodies and healthy and so on and so forth. I mean, to me, the most comical, tragically comical thing in the United States is that we can't have a great country without great people, but we're not going to feed them, we're not going to house them, we're not going to educate them, we're not going to do any of those things.
Mhm.
So how can we have great people? If we can't have great people, we can't have a great
Right.
country. It's tragically comic the way that we approach it.
Right. Well, it's been a power, it's the way to maintain power for
Yeah,
people
of
who
course,
had all of
absolutely.
the other stuff. So
And
this is,
part of the process is to educate people what the trick is.
Mhm.
Because that's what it is. It's a trick. It's the magician's trick. We're going to keep you busy looking over here while we
Mhm.
steal your money here, and we keep you
Mhm.
stupid over here, and we keep you not healthy, and so on and so forth. Once
Mhm.
people understand what the process is and the fact that it's intentional, then we can make headway. But until that happens, we can't. So
Right.
again, education. But
Bob,
motivation has to be higher.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Bob, you unmuted. Did you have a comment? Oh, Bob, you're unmuted, but we can't hear you. Not yet. Check the volume, maybe. We have also about 20 minutes left. In about 5 minutes, we'll want to wrap up and plan for our next meeting. Bob, I still can't hear you. Still can't hear you, love. Just keep on trying, and then when we hear you. This has been a great orientation for you guys. We've been waiting for you to get well and get settled, Sunny. We understand that you moved. Hope that the move went well and you're settled now. And Martha brought up before that we can talk about the timetables. You can stop sharing, I think, now for Martha.
Oh, sorry. Oh,
That's okay.
sorry. What am I doing?
So we can talk about if this timetable on Wednesday, it's noon Eastern Standard Time. Is this a good time for where you are? Does it work? Stephan, Sunny?
Oh, well, noon is 9 a.m. my time. That
Mhm.
works fine.
Okay, and Sunny, it's not quite 10:30 in the morning, which is like 3:30 a.m.
This time works well with me. Yeah.
Okay,
Very
all
nice.
right, good. All right, and Martha, so the noon, of course, gives you a little bit more time post work to
Yeah.
come in on a Wednesday. Is that okay? Good. Bob, did you get sound yet?
Tuesday.
Tuesday. We're back to Tuesdays. Okay, we don't have your sound yet.
Do you want to write it in the chat, Bob? Can you write it in the chat so we don't lose your comment?
Okay, so we'll take a look at that. So next, if we're going to look at our next agenda, we'll have them for Friday, of course, we're with Daniel. We'll discuss his message following. We don't do a lot of this type of work on Fridays when we're with Daniel because we focus on the message from Macaventa and reviewing that message and seeing how it's going to apply to the work that we do. This Tuesday meeting is more of a work meeting to work on our design team process and the messages that we've received. And right now we're just kind of cleaning up where we've been over the last couple of months and streamlining our way forward. So that's what you can anticipate on the difference between Tuesday and Friday. Daniel doesn't join us on Tuesday, and Sonja wants us to kind of get this process together. I think Bob is still typing. We don't have a lot of time to start with the facilitator material. We wanted to put that in the same document, but in a different table. So Martha, I don't know if you're going to have time to do that in that document, but if you send it out, I might be able to work on it this week and add that to the document. Or, you know, all of the stuff that's we put together. I love what you're muted again, Martha.
It was my son singing in the background, so.
Oh, lovely.
That, yes, it was lovely. I will send it out to everybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then
And
we
I
have
will
you-
make an appointment with Juan so that we can try and fill up as much as we can of what is on YouTube, what is on out of AI, and what is edited and not, so that we have a list next time of
So
everything that we.
that's a little different than the AI summaries. What I wanted to do from the AI summaries tell us next steps. So I'll work on that piece since it's different than
Yeah.
what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I'll go through the AI and say, you know, over the last 2 months, the summaries have said, this is your next steps, this is your next
Yeah.
step, and make sure that we're not missing anything. So I'll
Yeah.
take that piece on, and
Okay.
then
Thanks, Karen.
organize the material for the facilitator so that we can review that next Tuesday. And hopefully we'll be almost caught up by then. Let's cross our fingers. We can look at those 3 documents, make sure that we have our process down.
Mhm.
And then what I would like to do either for Friday or Tuesday is we need a dedicated recorder. It's hard for me to do that as a transmitter and facilitator. Martha, that leaves a lot of burden on you because you already have a lot going on because Juan is dealing with the translation and then Jock has to leave early.
Yeah.
Unless Sunny or Stephan want to take that on.
I wouldn't even know where to start. Not something I would be good at, I don't think.
Well, that's why we've been relying upon the AI summary. AI has been our recorder.
Quick question though, on Friday, the meeting's at a different time, isn't it?
It is. It's at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which I think is 7:30. And that's because I have a class promptly at 12:40 Eastern Standard
It's
Time.
fine. I just want to make sure that I'm on time. That's all. So I
Okay.
need to know.
That'll only be through January, and then we'll go back to our later time on Friday. Or
Yeah,
through the middle of
I'm
December. Sorry.
doing recording. I don't type quickly, which is ironic because I'm a writer. But when I was taking, when I was in high school, I signed up for typing, and it was all girls back then, and they kicked me out of the class because they just thought I wanted to be there with the girls because I was a jock. I was a quarterback and the captain of the football team and all that kind of thing, right? So they thought for sure. And then here's what they said. They said, "What are you going to be, a secretary?" Well, fast forward to today, we have computers and keyboards, and I'm actually a writer, and I don't type. I'm not very efficient.
Yeah. Fortunately, I was a girl and I didn't get kicked out of typing class, but
I'm envious. They actually, and here's the final irony, they made me go take Spanish, which I never paid any attention to, never learned any Spanish. It was a complete waste of my time. And I wish I'd learned how to type.
yeah, that typing class was a key. All right, Bob has posted, our environment is a mess with the poison in our foods, the proliferation of plastic that is everywhere The unknown effects of GMOs, these things are affecting our health greatly and must be considered. That's very true. I cannot eat GMOs. They destroy my system. I regret it. And as soon as I have a problem, I look at a package and go, oh, GMO. So yeah,
Oh,
thank you
wow.
for that comment, Bob. It's also being complicating things, particularly here in the States. You have to corn is the one GMO that I know in an instant if I've had something with the GMO corn product.
Wow.
Yeah. All right, so we have a little over 10 minutes. We try to have just some spiritual connection before we leave. I don't know if we'll have another message or not. Anybody else have questions or concerns about our process today? We might end a little bit early, but we don't really have time to get into something else. Martha, you want to lead us in a closing prayer time?
Okay.
Since you missed our early one. Yeah.
I did. God of universes who indwells our human minds, thought adjuster ours, beloved eternal companion, we thank you for your presence within us and for the spiritual contours of your universe. Makiventa Melchizedek, our planetary manager, Christ Michael, our system sovereign, Mother Nebudonia, Monjaranson, our magisterial son, all the angels, guides, midwayers, those without name and number, beings of light who surround and envelop us, we thank you for your presence. We thank you for the communication with us mortals, how patient you are, how kind you are, how generous you are with your time. We thank you for our awareness of your existence. We thank you for the many privileges we've had in our lives, and we bring to you the lives of so many others that lack so much of what we've been gifted with. Thank you, Sonja, for your message tonight about those who have lost their lives in my country where violence is such a way of life because of the unhealed harms of apartheid. I ask that you guide us, that you lend us more time, more wisdom, so that we may become godlike in time. Please allow us the insight so that we may help you unfold the divine agenda on this planet at this time. We are aware of the difficulties on our planet, the wars, the situation in the Middle East, so many countries, Myanmar, DRC, Sudan, Ukraine, Russia, what's happening in Lebanon, Israel, Gaza. Beings of light, please allow us to see with eyes of spirit so that we can bring hope rather than despair. Please show us the reconstruction and development plan of the soul so that we can become true students of your divine lessons. We thank you for the space that we've created. Please show us how we may conduct our business, how we may get the best out of each of us present, and how each of us may become the best human beings we can be. We thank you for your presence. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, world without end. Amen.
Thank you. This is Sonja. And one final comment from the planetary management team for you. We are so pleased that you are able to sit with each other and conduct business in such a peaceful and harmonious manner. You cannot possibly understand the implications of your interaction across the planetary circuitry and how it impacts other people in your sphere of influence. This is quite remarkable and it brings us great joy. So thank you for your time together today and being with us, inviting us here and working so closely together, soul to soul and heart to heart. We appreciate this so much from you all. Be blessed and have a remarkable rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Thank you. And Bob, we can hear you now. Yay.
Oh, good. I found out that I had my external audio system connected to my computer through a, USB port, and I pulled that off, and now you can hear me.
Oh, there you go. So Stephan and Sunny, this is Bob. He is part of the greater community of Mission Urantia and Yoam, and has been a part of Macaventa Mondays, and then requested to join our group. So he's here with us as well, and you'll get to know him a little bit better. So folks, unless you want to stay, hang out and chat and have a beer together, I think we're done for today.
Thanks a lot, Connor. Martha.
Thank you
Thanks.
guys.
Thank you, Connor.
You're welcome. Blessings, Martha. Blessings, Juan, Sunny, Stephan, and Bob. See you guys on Friday.
Okay.
Yeah, on Friday
Bye-bye.
at 8:30, right?
Let's see, your Pacific
Mountain
time,
time. Mountain
your
time.
Mountain time, it's 8:30 a.m. Mountain time, yeah. And today, Wednesday, will be at noon Eastern Standard Time, Bob, okay? Noon Eastern Standard. So
Wednesday?
Wednesday, every Wednesday, no, I'm sorry, Tuesday.
It's
We moved
every
to Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Every Tuesday.
So that'd be 10 o'clock my time.
Correct.
Well, I was a little bit late today. I was on my phone with my brother. We just got him a new computer, so his wife and I picked it out, and
We're just so glad you made it.
they just received it, and so he was going over that with me this morning, and I got lost track of time.
No worries. I have to remember not to leave before stopping the recording and making sure it's saved, and also saving the transcript. I will do that now, but thanks again for you guys being here. Probably should save this and then send it.
Oh, yes, yes, I must also save, before you, let me just save the full transcript.
Okay, and Juan, you're recording. Are you also host now still?
Sí.
Okay, making you host so you can save the recording.
Juan,
Sí.
yo puedo trabajar contigo más tarde. Voy a hacer la cena, pero como en 2 horas puedo trabajar contigo si tú tienes tiempo.
A las 3.
Sí, señor. ¿Qué horas son ahora?
1:55.
So it's 2 o'clock? Yeah. In an hour? Yeah. Shall we
No.
work in an hour? En una
Ok.
hora.
Sí, está bien.
Perfecto. Yo te mando una liga.
Ok, te espero.
I'm just going to make the appointment with Juan so that he and I can actually do that work now.
Sure.
Kona, so that we can, in an hour, I'll come back and do that with
And
him.
you'll be able to generate a link from your
I
Zoom.
have,
Okay.
yeah, I can use my.
All right, Juan, you've saved the recording. Have you stopped it to save?
Ok.